Please, take my husband to the hospital quickly. Please calm down. We're assessing his condition. My husband is foaming at the mouth and convulsing. The paramedics remain surprisingly calm, despite my panic. I see, so that's what's going on. What's happening? It seems the paramedic has noticed something when he took a look at my husband. Turning towards me, the paramedic said, "Ma'am, please stay here." What? Why? I responded with a hint of irritation to the sudden request. After the paramedic sighed, he began to explain the situation and told me the truth. When I heard it, I felt more anger filling me from deep within than surprise. My name is Gabriella. I'm 43 years old and working as an office clerk in a small company. I live with my husband, Aiden, and our daughter, Laura. I married my husband in my early 20s. Why don't we get married soon? What? Why are you so surprised? It's not that, but there was no indication of it at all. My husband's proposals were always unexpected. I was sometimes bewildered by his behavior, but I still wanted to be with him, so I decided to get married. My life after I got married to him wasn't smooth at first. The company went bankrupt. Huh? When? They told me suddenly when I went to the office today. I had noticed he had been coming home unusually early, but I never expected this. After that, I did my best to support the household. I took on part-time jobs without telling my company and endured until he found a new job. During those days, when I returned from work every day, I couldn't focus on anything, and I just stared at the ceiling. When we continued living such a life for about 6 months, I found out I was pregnant. I think I'm pregnant. Is that so? I'm finally going to be a father, huh? But before that, you need to find a job. You're right. I need to try harder. Please try hard for the sake of this child. After that, my husband became like a completely different person. Within a week, after we found out that I was pregnant, he found a new job. I thought we could finally relax, but that lasted only until our daughter was born. I need to go out today, and I'm wondering if you could watch Laura. I'm going out today, too. I don't think I can watch her. You really can't? I have a plan to meet someone. I can't change it suddenly. He never helped with household chores or taking care of our daughter. When he went out, he started paying attention to his appearance. Even when we went out as a family, he hadn't cared so much. Our daughter, who had spent her early childhood like that, didn't grow particularly close to my husband. Can you stay with your dad tomorrow? Huh? No way. But I can't take you with me. I promise I won't be a bother. My daughter strongly resisted being alone with my husband. Her behavior made them look as if they were strangers. The fundamental relationship didn't seem to improve, even as my daughter grew older. However, there was a change when she entered her 3rd year of junior high school. Has Dad been acting strange lately? Has he? I think he's the same as always. But he keeps asking me, what kind of things are popular these days? He never did that before. Come to think of it. My husband apparently had gotten close to a young female coworker, and I remembered that he was talking about it with a big smile. I thought he was considering divorce, since he was telling such a story to our daughter and me. If it would make him happier, I thought it would be okay. There's a parent-teacher meeting for Laura next week. Can't you go in my place? Why me? Why don't you go? I absolutely can't make it on that day. My husband had never seriously thought about our daughter's future, but as a last resort, I decided to ask him. Then, our daughter, who had been listening to the conversation, chimed in. Huh? I want to go with you, Mom. If that day doesn't work for you, then I can talk to my teacher and change the date. Well, I'll talk to my teacher tomorrow. Then, perhaps my husband didn't like that. He was left out, and he suddenly raised his voice. Don't make decisions on your own. What? You're the 1-inch. Who said you couldn't go? Don't act like a father now all of a sudden. How can you talk to your father like that? I don't recall you ever doing anything fatherly until now. You. Shockingly, my husband was about to raise his hand at our daughter. I quickly intervened. What are you doing? What? It's called discipline. She's being disrespectful towards a parent. That doesn't mean you should use violence. What? It's because you're not being responsible enough. Then, my husband threw a mug, which was beside him, toward me. Fortunately, his aim was off, and I didn't get hurt. It seems our daughter thought things had gone too far, and came running over to me. You're overreacting. Seriously. My husband said this, and left the house. Mom, are you okay? I was startled, but I'm fine. I'm not hurt. It's unbelievable. Anger toward her father was evident in our daughter's eyes. Since that incident, our daughter completely stopped talking to her father. Even when she entered high school, he didn't say anything to her either. And there was an even bigger issue with my husband. You bought such a thing again? Come on, it's fine. I bought it with my own money. You have no right to complain. I've never seen you use any of them. I'm going to use them in the future. They're trendy these days. My husband was buying outdoor gear, even though he had no intention of using it. He used to collect DIY tools, but now they are all sitting in the closet. The complete set of tents he bought over a year ago was all covered in dust. Can't you stop this already? You haven't even used the one you had bought before, have you? What? Oh, I see. You're jealous because no one invites you, huh? I sighed in exasperation. He was wasting so much money almost every month, and that was putting burden on our finances. I had been managing to maintain our household by covering the gaps each time. Then, a letter arrived. What's this? What? It's a collection notice for you. What could you possibly have used this much money for? You went through my stuff? If something like this arrives without you telling me, of course, that makes me curious. You're not in debt, are you? My husband didn't answer my question. At this point, it's undeniable that my husband is in debt. And I decided to press further. Looking at the collection notice, a troubling detail caught my eye. He had clearly been purchasing luxury brand items. And what are these luxury items mentioned in this collection notice? I don't recall ever seeing such things. Don't look at it any further. Just give it to me. I'll give it back if you answer my questions. It's a birthday gift for a junior colleague. Something this expensive? Your excuse seems feeble, doesn't it? Enough. You don't need to be concerned about it. With that, he snatched the collection notice from me, tore it to shreds, and threw it into the trash can. This is a clear case of tampering with evidence. I recalled what my in-laws had told me when we got married. He's always been careless with money since he was a child. He seems settled now, but you never know when he'll revert. So, if he wastes money, don't hesitate to scold him. All right, I understand. I know he might inconvenience you, Gabriella, But please take care of him. I'll handle it. 2 years after we got married, my father-in-law passed away due to a heart condition. If he could see me now, what would he say? I closed my eyes and imagined. Just as my father-in-law had told me, I vowed not to hold back anymore. That's when. Sis, Dad collapsed. Please come home right away. I understand. I'll be back right away. I rushed to my parents' house with my daughter. When we got there, the atmosphere was heavy, making it almost suffocating. Where's Dad? I asked, but my brother only shook his head weakly. It was too late. It seemed that my father had passed away just before we arrived. Since my mother had already passed away, I served as the chief mourner at the funeral. Everything went smoothly, and when it was all over, I took a deep breath. Hey, Gabriella! What's going to happen with the inheritance? Why are you talking about that now? It's not appropriate. Apparently, my husband was quite fixated on how much of my father's estates I would inherit. For my husband, who had a spending habit, how much money he could get must have been important. Dad left a will. Oh, I see. When we looked at his will, it detailed various things, such as my father's company and properties. But I don't want any of it. You're the one entitled to inherit. What are you talking about? Dad loved you the most, didn't he? Even if that's the case, I don't have the right to receive it. I thought, who couldn't do anything for him, didn't deserve it. When I mentioned this to my husband, he became furious. It's a valuable right. Who wouldn't want to receive it? You were probably planning to use that money to pay off your debts, weren't you? Of course not. I wonder. Though my father was his in-law, my father has just passed away, yet all he thought about was money. By this point, I was becoming less resistant to the idea of divorce. However, I wanted one more decisive factor to lead to divorce. And then it happened. Sis, have you received an envelope? An envelope? I haven't received anything like that. Huh? That's strange. I asked him to give it to you. I had a bad feeling about this. You didn't ask Aiden to do it, did you? I went to your place the other day, but only Aiden was home at that time. Was that bad? No, it's fine. Thank you for letting me know. By the way, what was in the envelope? When I heard what was inside, I knew that my husband wouldn't have left it as it was. I had never anticipated my husband's return this eagerly before. As soon as he came back, I bombarded him with questions. Didn't you receive an envelope from my brother? I don't know anything about it. Wasn't it Laura? It's obvious that he knows, yet he tried to blame our daughter. That was unthinkable. I got a call during the day. Did you think I wouldn't find out what was inside the envelope? My husband fell silent. You probably spent it, didn't you? So, where's the rest? It's gone. What? I used it all for paying off debts. It hasn't even been a week yet. My worst fears had been confirmed. However, the outcome was even worse than I had imagined. According to my brother, there should have been a check for over $50,000. But this means we're saying goodbye to a life of debt. You'll benefit too, won't you? I don't think we were in that much debt to begin with. What else did you use it for? Once again, my husband remained silent. Then, our daughter rushed into the living room, looking flustered. She showed me the screen of her phone. It was a picture of my husband and a young woman whom I don't know. Where did you get this? I happened to see them when I was coming home with my friends. I see. Thank you, Laura. I had been suspicious for a while, but there was no concrete evidence. However, this photo had now transformed those suspicions into undeniable facts. I was about to call out to my husband. Suddenly, he began clutching his chest and appeared to be in pain. Are you okay? Then, my husband collapsed and started convulsing. It was the first time I had seen him in such a state, and my mind went blank. My daughter, who witnessed this scene, remained surprisingly calm. I'll stay with Dad. You call an ambulance. Okay. I got it. I'm sure he'll be fine. Stay calm. With my daughter's words, I quickly dialed the emergency number. They should be here in about 10 minutes. What's happening to him? He seems to be in pain, but I don't know why it happened. For now, try talking to him. Right. Until the ambulance arrived, my daughter and I continued to talk to my husband. However, there was no response from him, and it seemed like he was frothing at the mouth. I began to worry that he might die at this rate. In the distance, I could faintly hear the sound of sirens. It sounds like they're here. I'll go outside to guide them. You stay with Dad. I'll handle this. It was an awful situation, but seeing my daughter's composure, I realized just how much she had grown. When the paramedics arrived, they immediately began examining my husband. I was extremely worried. Please take my husband to the hospital quickly. Please calm down. We're assessing his condition. Despite my anxiety, the paramedic remained surprisingly composed. Then, I heard the paramedic mutter something to himself. I see, so that's what's going on. What's wrong? It seemed like the paramedic had noticed something about my husband, and he turned to me. Ma'am, please stay here. What? Why? I responded with a touch of irritation to the sudden statement. After the paramedic sighed, he began to explain the situation and told me the truth. First, regarding your husband, we have determined that there is no urgency, so we will not be transporting him to the hospital. Why not? He was in so much pain earlier. I will explain everything, including that. The paramedic then approached my husband and said something startling. You understand why we're not taking you to the hospital, don't you? You shouldn't fake an illness. What? Fake? The paramedic chuckled as they talked to my husband. Indeed, while he had appeared to be in distress, his complexion had improved compared to earlier. For now, we'll be leaving, but please rest and take it easy just in case. We're sorry for the inconvenience. No need to apologize, it's our job. Fortunately, everything seems to be fine. My daughter and I watched the ambulance, which had come all the way for us, drove away. While I felt relieved that my husband was okay, I also felt a growing anger deep within me. I might not have felt anger so distinctly before. Mom! Yes, I know! I said and returned to my husband. He had collapsed just moments ago, but now he is sitting on the couch, with a facial expression that he knows that he's just gotten busted. You really did something unnecessary. Sorry about that. I never expected things to turn out like this. Although he was apologizing with his words, there was a hint of laughter. That only fueled my anger further. Do you really understand what you have done? Of course, I do. I'm really sorry. I was just panicking. So, is that all you want to say? What? It doesn't matter where you go or what you do, but in return, please leave this house. Wait a minute. No, I won't wait. I know everything, including the fact that you've been using my money without permission. I apologize for everything. Please forgive me. My husband repeatedly apologized and pleaded. My daughter and I exchanged glances and nodded. Enough already. Both Laura and I are fed up with you. Yeah, it's too late to apologize. So, can you pack your things and leave? You can't do that to me. Reflect on everything you've done before saying things like that, okay? Even when my daughter and I pushed him away, he didn't seem to have given up yet. If you don't want to leave so badly, how about paying compensation for the affair and returning the money you used without permission? Of course, I was suggesting this knowing that my husband is incapable of doing such a thing right now. I could imagine how my husband would react easily after this. You know I can't afford that right now, don't you? So? Just because you can't afford it, it doesn't mean it's excusable. Mom, I think that's enough. If that's how it is, let's leave. It seems like he likes this house so much. Isn't that right? It's not that. We immediately packed as much as we could carry and left the house. We headed to my parents' house. Along the way, my husband called multiple times, but I was ignoring every call. However, I decided to answer once at my daughter's suggestion. We're getting a divorce. Also, don't forget to pay child support for Laura, okay? Are you listening? It's unfortunate that we have to leave you, but be happy with your lover. Oh, hey! After hanging up the phone, we both burst into laughter from the bottom of our hearts. I was so happy at the thought of never having to deal with my husband. On our way to my parents' house, we talked about the peaceful future that awaited us. After that, I immediately hired a lawyer and started divorce proceedings. 2 weeks after hiring him, the divorce was finalized. Of course, I claimed everything, including alimony for the affair, child support, and the money he used without permission. My husband still seems to be living in that house, but I can't afford to pay the rent anymore. Please forgive me. Why don't you ask your lover for help? LOL. We broke up. Oh, what a shame. But I don't really care. It's your own fault. Right now, you're the only one I can rely on, Gabriella. Please help me. Are you misunderstanding something? We're strangers now. In the end, my husband was abandoned by his lover as well, and he seems to be drowning in more debt. Once it reaches this point, there's no way to return to the life he had before. Well, it's just a case of reaping what you sow. It feels incredibly peaceful. I thought I might feel lonely at first, but it's been the opposite. I never really thought that way, from the beginning, LOL. Really? We left my parents' house and began living by ourselves. With my responsible daughter, I would be okay no matter what happens. From now on, we plan to seize even greater happiness together.